The massive alien ship descended through Earth's atmosphere like a dark cloud blocking out the sun. Its surface gleamed with an otherworldly metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Below, in New York's United Nations Plaza, hundreds of diplomats and military officials stood waiting, their hearts racing with a mixture of excitement and fear. Ambassador Tom Miller wiped his sweaty palms on his suit pants, trying to maintain his composure. As Earth's chosen representative, he carried the weight of humanity's first official contact with alien life on his shoulders. Next to him, General Robert Smith stood rigid, his decorated uniform a testament to years of military service. Neither man spoke, but both understood the gravity of the moment. The ship came to a stop, hovering 300 feet above the ground. A beam of purple light shot down, and three tall figures materialized. They stood nearly 8 feet tall, their bodies covered in what looked like flowing liquid metal. Their faces were smooth, with 4 glowing eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. The central figure stepped forward, its voice booming through some unseen technology. "We are the representatives of the Galactic Council, governing body of civilized space. We have come to evaluate Earth's readiness for inclusion in our society." Tom stepped forward, bowing slightly. "On behalf of Earth, we welcome you. We look forward to peaceful dialogue and cultural exchange." The alien's upper eyes flickered, a gesture that seemed almost like amusement. "Your primitive attempts at diplomacy are noted. However, we have been observing your planet for some time. Your species continues to wage war amongst itself. You poison your atmosphere with industrial waste. Your technological level is—" It paused, "barely beyond steam power by our standards." General Smith's jaw tightened, but he remained silent. Tom tried again. "While we acknowledge our challenges, humanity has made great strides in recent years. We've begun cleaning our oceans, developed renewable energy, and our space program." "Silence," the alien commanded. "Your achievements are meaningless compared to Council standards. We have ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. Planets far more advanced than yours have submitted to our wisdom and protection." The other 2 aliens moved forward, projecting a holographic image into the air. It showed various worlds, each one clearly more advanced than Earth, with floating cities and ships that dwarfed their current visitors. "These are merely some of the worlds under our protection," the lead alien continued. "They all serve useful functions within our society. Based on our evaluation, Earth would be best suited for resource extraction and basic labor functions." Tom felt his diplomatic smile freeze. "I'm sorry, but are you suggesting Earth should become a mining colony?" "That would be your primary function, yes. Your species has shown remarkable physical endurance. This trait would be useful in our mineral extraction operations. Of course, we would provide basic technological improvements to facilitate this work." The crowd behind them had grown silent. News cameras continued rolling, broadcasting this conversation to billions around the world. General Smith finally spoke, his voice hard as steel. "And if we decline this generous offer?" All 4 of the aliens' eyes focused on him. "Decline? You misunderstand. This is not an offer. This is an announcement of how things will be. The Council does not negotiate with primitive species. You have 2 Earth days to prepare your leadership for integration into the Council system. Resistance would be unfortunate." Tom tried one last time. "Surely we can discuss this. Earth has much to offer as an equal partner." "Equal?" The alien's voice carried genuine surprise. "You launch primitive rockets barely capable of reaching your own moon, and you speak of equality. Your species still fights over lines drawn on maps. You have nothing to offer except your labor and resources." The purple beam reappeared, and the aliens began to fade. 2 days, Earth representatives. Prepare your people for their new role in the galaxy. Any resistance will be met with appropriate force. As the ship ascended back into the clouds, General Smith turned to Tom. "Get me the president, and contact every major military power. If they want a primitive species, we'll show them just how primitive we can be." Tom nodded grimly, already pulling out his phone. Above them, the alien ship vanished into the upper atmosphere, leaving behind a world forever changed. Humanity had dreamed of first contact for centuries, imagining a moment of wonder and shared discovery. Instead, they got an ultimatum. But the aliens had made one crucial mistake. They had underestimated humanity's greatest strength, the absolute refusal to bow down to tyranny. In conference rooms and military bases around the world, the pieces were already being moved. Earth would not go quietly into servitude. The aliens wanted humanity's strength. They were about to get more than they bargained for. The 2 days passed like a slow-motion nightmare. Instead of preparing for surrender, Earth's military forces had worked around the clock, moving into position under the cover of darkness. They knew the aliens were watching, but humanity had one advantage. They were expected to give up. On the morning of the 3rd day, the alien ships appeared. Not one, but 50 massive vessels emerged from the clouds, their dark hulls blocking out the sun over major cities across the globe. The Council had come to collect their new slaves. "Incoming transmission," announced the technician at the Pentagon's command center. General Smith stood at the main display, surrounded by military leaders from 20 nations. The alien's face appeared on screen, all 4 eyes glowing with irritation. "Your species has failed to prepare for integration. This is disappointing but not unexpected from primitives. We will now provide a demonstration of the consequences of defiance." The ships over each city began to glow with purple energy. In New York, London, Beijing, Moscow, and other major capitals, massive beams of light shot down toward the ground. The aliens expected panic, chaos, and immediate surrender. They got something very different. The moment the beams hit Earth's atmosphere, something unexpected happened. The planet's magnetic field, which humans had thought of as merely a shield against solar radiation, interacted with the alien weapons in a way the Council had never seen. Their energy weapons, designed for worlds with weaker magnetic fields, scattered and lost power. Energy weapons at 40% effectiveness, one alien commander reported, confusion clear in its voice. "The atmospheric interference is." The rest of its message was cut off as the first wave of Earth's response began. Hidden missile silos opened across the globe. But these weren't ordinary missiles. For 2 days straight, scientists had worked to modify their warheads based on data gathered during the first contact. "Launch all units," General Smith commanded. His voice was calm, but his eyes gleamed with fierce determination. "Show them how primitives fight back." The missiles streaked upward, their warheads specifically tuned to the frequency of the alien ship's outer hulls. When they struck, they didn't explode. They phased through the advanced shielding like it wasn't even there. The aliens had built defenses against energy weapons and plasma attacks, but they'd never considered protecting against primitive physical projectiles. Multiple hull breaches. An alien captain screamed over their common channel. "How are they penetrating our shields?" "These weapons shouldn't." Another ship erupted in a cascade of explosions. Over London, a massive vessel began tilting sideways, its gravity systems failing. The alien commander's voice crackled across all frequencies. "This is impossible. Their weapons are basic ballistics. They shouldn't be able to." "Correction," General Smith replied over the open channel. "Our weapons were basic ballistics. We learned a lot from your little demonstration 2 days ago. Amazing what humans can do when properly motivated." The alien fleet began to retreat, their formation broken. They had expected to face bows and arrows compared to their technology. Instead, humanity had taken their own weapons and turned them into something new, something the Council had never seen before. In the Pentagon Command Center, Ambassador Tom Miller watched the screens with a mixture of awe and sadness. "We tried to warn them," he said quietly. "We tried to talk peace." "They made their choice," General Smith replied, watching as another alien ship limped into the upper atmosphere, trailing debris. "They thought we'd surrender because they're more advanced. They forgot that humanity's greatest advances always came from being backed into a corner." The remaining alien ships vanished into space, leaving behind 3 of their massive vessels crashed in various locations around the globe. Teams of scientists were already mobilizing to study the wreckage. Earth had won its first battle, but everyone knew this was just the beginning. As emergency teams helped civilians and secured the crashed ships, General Smith turned to the assembled leaders. They'll be back, and they'll be angry. But now they know something important. Humanity doesn't bow to bullies, no matter where they're from. The alien commander's final message echoed through the command center. This is unprecedented. The Council will not forget this insult. Good, General Smith replied to the empty air. We want them to remember. And we want them to think very carefully about their next move. Because now they know, Earth isn't as primitive as they thought. Around the world, people emerged from shelters to see the remnants of the alien fleet retreating into space. Humanity had bloodied the Council's nose, but more importantly, they had done what no species had done in 10,000 years. They had fought back and won. The real war was just beginning. Dr. James Ward hadn't slept in 3 days. The crashed alien ship before him was a treasure trove of technology, but what he found in its computer banks kept him awake far more than any amount of coffee could. In the dim light of his makeshift lab inside the secured military facility, he stared at the translated alien text with growing horror. General Smith needs to see this immediately, he muttered, gathering his tablet and notes. The guards outside his lab quickly escorted him to the emergency command center, where Earth's military leaders were planning their next moves. General Smith looked up from a holographic display of Earth's defensive positions. Dr. Ward, you look like you've seen a ghost. Worse, James replied, connecting his tablet to the main screen. I've seen the truth about the Galactic Council. They're not just conquerors. They're parasites. The screen's filled with translated alien documents and star maps. The Council isn't the advanced civilization they pretend to be, James explained, his hands shaking slightly. They're more like space pirates who got lucky. 10,000 years ago, they discovered faster than light travel by accident. Instead of sharing this discovery, they used it to subjugate other worlds. Ambassador Tom Miller, who had been quietly observing from the corner, stepped forward. But their technology, their achievements, stolen, James cut in. All of it, every major advancement they have came from species they enslaved. They find worlds with unique technological developments, conquer them, and take their innovations for themselves. Then they force these worlds to work in mines or factories, using their own people's inventions against them. He pulled up more images, showing vast mining operations on distant worlds. Alien species of all shapes and sizes worked under harsh conditions, supervised by Council overseers. They haven't actually developed anything new in thousands of years. They just take what others create. General Smith's eyes narrowed. Then why were they so interested in Earth? We're less advanced than they are. Because of us, humans, James explained, bringing up biological scans. Earth's gravity is higher than most habitable worlds. Our atmosphere is denser. Our world has forced us to evolve into something unique. He showed comparative strength tests between humans and other species. We're physically stronger than 90% of known species. We can endure conditions that would kill most aliens. And most importantly, we adapt incredibly fast. The Council's biggest weakness, James continued, is their rigid thinking. They haven't faced real resistance in thousands of years. Their weapons and tactics haven't changed because they haven't needed to change. But look what we did in just 2 days. We analyzed their tech and found a way to counter it. No other species has done that in the Council's entire history. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Tom was the first to speak. So when we defeated their ships, we did something they thought was impossible, James finished. And there's more. Their entire empire is built on standardized technology. Same weapons, same shields, same ships, all stolen and mass-produced. They don't innovate because they don't know how anymore. They just copy what worked before. General Smith smiled for the first time in days. And we just proved their standard defenses don't work against us. Exactly, James nodded. But here's the most important part. We're not the only ones who could fight back. Every enslaved world has the potential. They just needed someone to show them it was possible. He brought up one final document. A secret council report about Earth. They're not just afraid of our strength. They're afraid we'll inspire others. That's why they attacked so quickly. They wanted to crush us before we could show the galaxy that the Council isn't invincible. General Smith turned to the assembled leaders. Then we'll do exactly what they feared. We'll show everyone that the Council can be beaten. He looked at the images of enslaved worlds again. How many of these slave worlds would join us if they knew resistance was possible? According to these records, James said, checking his data, at least 30 worlds are ready for rebellion. They just need a spark. Tom stood straighter, his diplomatic training giving way to determination. Then let's give them that spark. We'll show the galaxy that humanity doesn't just fight for itself. We fight for freedom. In the depths of space, the Council's fleet was regrouping, preparing for a larger assault on Earth. But for the first time in 10,000 years, they felt something they'd forgotten existed. Fear, not just of Earth's weapons, but of the change they represented. The sleeping giant they'd tried to chain was awake, and it was about to wake up the rest of the galaxy. The real revolution was about to begin. Captain Mary Cooper crouched behind a fallen tree on an alien moon, her advanced stealth suit blending perfectly with the purple vegetation. 5 other human soldiers lay hidden nearby, their breathing steady despite the excitement of being light years from Earth. Above them, a massive Council supply depot towered against the alien sky, its security seemingly impenetrable. Seemingly being the key word. Status report, Mary whispered into her helmet comm, a piece of technology reverse-engineered from the crashed Council ships. All guards maintaining standard patrol patterns, her scout replied. They haven't changed their routine in 50 years. Just like the intel said, they're predictable. Mary allowed herself a small smile. In the 3 months since Earth's first victory, humanity had transformed itself into a serious threat to Council operations. While the aliens expected a direct confrontation, Earth had chosen a different path. Guerrilla warfare on a galactic scale. Team 2 in position. Another voice reported. Charges are ready. These power cores won't be fueling any Council ships. The Council had expected Earth to be defenseless beyond its own atmosphere. Instead, humanity had taken the alien technology they'd captured and combined it with centuries of guerrilla warfare experience. The result was something the Council had never faced, an enemy that could strike anywhere, anytime, and vanish before they could respond. Begin Operation Ghost, Mary commanded. Her team moved like shadows through the alien facility. The Council's security systems, unchanged for thousands of years, were designed to detect energy weapons and large forces. They weren't prepared for small teams using modified projectile weapons and Earth military tactics. Inside the facility's control room, 2 Council overseers monitored their screens with bored expressions. They had never faced a serious threat here, so far from Earth. The first overseer died without ever realizing humans had entered the room. The second reached for an alarm, but found a knife at its throat. Access codes, Mary demanded, her translator converting her words. Now. The alien's 4 eyes widened in shock. Humans? This far from Earth? Impossible. We're making a habit of impossible things lately, Mary replied. Codes. Within minutes, her tech expert was downloading the facility's entire database, while other team members planted charges at key points. But they weren't just there for destruction. They had a second mission. In the facility's lower levels, they found what they were looking for, holding cells full of alien slaves. The prisoners looked up in confusion as their cell doors opened. We're from Earth, Mary announced through her translator. We're here to offer you a choice. Stay here or join us in fighting back. One prisoner, A tall creature with crystalline skin stepped forward. The Council said Earth was destroyed in their second attack. Mary smiled. The Council lies. Earth stands free, and we're helping others do the same. Spread the word. The time for resistance has come. As her team led the freed prisoners to their hidden ships, Mary activated the charges. The facility's power cores overloaded in a spectacular but contained explosion, destroying the Council's fuel supplies without harming the surrounding area. In orbit, Council reinforcements would arrive to find only wreckage and missing slaves. More importantly, they would find the message Mary's team left behind, broadcasted on all frequencies. From Earth to all who wish to be free, you are not alone. Back on Earth, General Smith reviewed the latest success reports. 20 Council facilities hit in the past month. Hundreds of slaves freed. Supply lines disrupted. The mighty Council, unused to resistance, was struggling to adapt to an enemy they couldn't predict or control. The Council's high command is in chaos, Ambassador Tom reported, reading from the latest intercepted communications. They've never faced an enemy that fights like this. Their entire military doctrine is based on overwhelming force against mass targets. And instead they get ghosts, General Smith nodded. Teams that strike and vanish. Slaves that disappear. Supply lines that explode. And every freed slave spreads the word. Earth is fighting back. Dr. James Ward, studying the latest captured Council technology, looked up from his work. They thought their biggest advantage was their advanced technology. Instead, it's becoming their weakness. They rely on it so much, they've forgotten how to think creatively. And creativity. Mary's voice came through on the command channel as her team's ships jumped to safety, is humanity's greatest weapon. Another mission completed, sir. The Council just lost their biggest fuel depot in this sector, and we've got 30 more recruits for the resistance. The Council had ruled through fear for 10,000 years. Now, for the first time, they were the ones afraid. Their invincible empire was being challenged not by a mighty fleet, but by shadows they couldn't catch and ideas they couldn't kill. The revolution was spreading, one impossible victory at a time. The Council battleship commander stared in disbelief at his tactical display. Around Mars, Earth's first colony world, 50 human ships had appeared from nowhere. But that was impossible. His sensors should have detected their approach. How did they get so close? He demanded. His answer came in the form of a transmission. The human fleet's energy signatures suddenly changed, shifting from what looked like civilian mining vessels to warships. On his screen, Captain Mary Cooper's face appeared, her expression confident. Surprised, she asked. You should be. We learned this trick from studying your own technology. But we made it better. The human ships had used modified cloaking systems, another piece of stolen Council tech that humanity had improved. While the Council used cloaking for simple invisibility, humans had found a way to make their ships appear as something else entirely. The battle for Mars had begun. On Earth, in the new Global Defense Command Center, General Smith watched the operation unfold. Dr. James Ward stood beside him, monitoring the performance of their latest weapons. All ships report ready, James announced. The new hybrid drives are functioning perfectly. Council ships won't be able to predict our movement patterns. The hybrid drives were a perfect example of human innovation. They'd combine Council technology with Earth engineering, creating something entirely new. While Council ships moved in predictable patterns, limited by their rigid technology, human ships could shift and turn in ways that defied standard space combat tactics. The Council commander's voice crackled over the command channel. This is your only warning. Withdraw now, or face destruction. Mars belongs to the Council. Mars belongs to its people, Mary responded. Then, to her fleet. Weapons free. Show them what we've learned. The human ships moved like dancers in a deadly ballet. Instead of maintaining formal battle lines like Council doctrine demanded, they broke into small groups, attacking from multiple angles. Their weapons were a mix of modified Council technology and human ingenuity. Railguns enhanced with alien power systems, missiles guided by hybrid targeting systems. The Council fleet, twice the size of the human force, found itself in chaos. Their standard tactics fell apart against an enemy that refused to fight according to the rules. Ships they thought were in front of them would suddenly appear behind. Weapons they thought they could block proved more powerful than expected. How? The Council commander demanded as another of his ships erupted in flames. Your weapons shouldn't be this effective. Your ships shouldn't move like this. That's your problem, Mary replied as her fleet pressed the attack. You think everything should work the way it always has. Humanity doesn't accept limitations. We break them. On Mars' surface, the Council garrison was facing its own problems. The slaves they'd brought to work in the mines were rising up, using tools and knowledge provided by Earth's earlier guerrilla raids. What had started as a space battle was becoming a full revolution. In the command center, Ambassador Tom rushed in with urgent news. The Council's defense network is spreading word of the battle. Other worlds are watching. General Smith nodded grimly. Good. Let them see what happens when humanity fights back. The battle reached its climax 3 hours later. The Council fleet, once proud and unstoppable, was reduced to fleeing survivors. Mars, humanity's first colony world, was free. Mary's voice echoed through the command channel one final time. To all watching worlds, remember this day. The Council isn't invincible. Their technology isn't perfect. Their rule isn't absolute. Earth has proved that resistance is possible. Join us, and freedom can be yours too. As the news spread across Council space, something unprecedented happened. On dozens of worlds, slaves began to resist. The Council's grip on power, absolute for 10,000 years, started to crack. Dr. James examined the battle data with excitement. Their entire system is based on the idea that more advanced technology always wins. We just proved that innovation and adaptability matter more than pure technological advancement. General Smith smiled. They gave us their technology, thinking we'd use it the same way they did. Instead, we made it into something new, something better. The liberation of Mars marked a turning point. The Council had lost not just a battle, but their aura of invincibility. Across the galaxy, oppressed species looked to Earth with hope. The humans had done more than win a victory. They had shown that the impossible was possible. The age of Council dominance was ending. The age of freedom was about to begin. The conference room in Earth's underground military base was filled with beings from across the galaxy. Crystal-skinned warriors stood next to floating gas cloud entities. Insectoid diplomats chittered with reptilian freedom fighters, all species that had, until recently, been slaves to the Council. Ambassador Tom Miller looked at the assembled aliens with pride. 6 months after the liberation of Mars, Earth had become a beacon of hope for oppressed species throughout the galaxy. What started as a human resistance had grown into something much bigger. Another 3 Council ships defected today, Captain Mary Cooper reported, entering the room. Her battle armor still showed scorch marks from her latest mission. Their crews are tired of serving the losing side. General Smith nodded from his position at the head of the table. The Council's grip is weakening. Their own people are starting to question 10,000 years of lies. A tall crystalline being stepped forward, the same one Mary had freed in her first raid. Now he led his species' resistance movement. My people have disabled the Council mining operations in our system, he announced, his voice creating musical tones. We use the tactics Earth taught us. Small teams, hit and run attacks. The Council cannot adapt, buzzed an insectoid warrior. They send the same ships, use the same tactics. Even when they fail, they just try again harder. Dr. James Ward, who had been quietly analyzing data in a corner, looked up from his tablet. That's because their entire society is built on copying what worked before. Innovation isn't just discouraged, it's forgotten. They literally don't know how to think differently. A hologram appeared in the center of the room, showing Council space, Red dots marked areas where rebellions had broken out. Nearly a third of the map glowed red. The Council's biggest mistake, Tom explained, wasn't attacking Earth. It was giving us access to their technology. They thought we'd be overwhelmed by its advancement. Instead, we saw ways to make it better. Mary activated another hologram, showing the newest Earth ships. They looked nothing like Council vessels. We took their rigid designs and made them flexible. Their predictable weapons became adaptable. Their standardized tactics became fluid strategies. And now, the crystal being chimed. You teach us to do the same. My people were miners for 10,000 years. Now we turn our mining tools into weapons the Council never imagined. The insectoid warrior buzzed in agreement. My hive built their ships. We know every weakness. Weaknesses they never fixed because they never expected resistance. General Smith stood, addressing the gathered aliens. The Council maintained power by keeping species isolated, making each think they were alone. That ends today. Earth proposes a formal alliance. Not an empire like the Council, but a federation of free worlds. The room erupted in sounds of agreement in a dozen alien languages. The hologram shifted, showing Allied territory in blue. Combined with the red rebellion zones, over half the Council's empire was now beyond their control. We've received word from Council Space, Tom announced, reading from a message. Their leadership is fracturing. Some want to negotiate. Others demand bigger ships, more weapons, the same failed strategies that got them here. Let them build bigger ships, Mary said with a smile. We'll just make them evolve faster. Dr. James projected new tactical data. The Council's entire military doctrine is based on overwhelming force meeting head-on resistance. They've never faced an enemy that refuses to play by their rules. Now they face dozens. The crystal being raised his arm, light refracting through his body. Earth has taught us that true strength isn't in the weapons you hold, but in the ways you think. The Council gave us technology, but took our spirit. Earth gave us back our spirit and showed us how to make the technology truly ours. General Smith looked at the assembled aliens, former slaves now standing as equals. The Council thought they were unbeatable because they had ruled for 10,000 years. They forgot that nothing lasts forever unless it's willing to change. The new alliance was more than a military force. It was a revolution in thinking. Each species brought their own strengths, their own innovations. Together, they were creating something the Council could never match, a force that grew stronger through diversity rather than conformity. The final battle was approaching, but its outcome was already clear. The age of the Council was ending, brought down not by superior technology, but by the one thing they had tried to suppress, the spirit of freedom and innovation that Earth had awakened across the galaxy. The Council homeworld hung in space like a jewel, its artificial rings glowing with power that had protected it for 10,000 years. Before it, the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history waited. But this wasn't a Council fleet. It was the combined forces of the new Federation, led by Earth. Captain Mary Cooper stood on the bridge of the flagship, Spirit of Earth, surrounded by crews from 20 different species. What had started as humanity's resistance had grown into the greatest alliance the galaxy had ever seen. Council Defense Fleet approaching, reported her Crystal Being Sensor officer. They've gathered every ship they have left. General Smith's voice came through the command channel from Earth. All ships, battle positions. Remember the plan. Fight like your species, not like them. The Council's remaining fleet emerged from hyperspace. Massive, standardized vessels arranged in perfect formation. Their high speakers transmission reached every ship in both fleets. This rebellion ends today, the speaker declared. 10,000 years of order will not be undone by primitives and rebellious slaves. Ambassador Tom Miller, now speaking for the entire Federation, stepped forward on the command deck. You still don't understand. It's not our weapons that defeated you. It's our spirit. Each species here brings their own strength, their own way of thinking. We're not an empire of copies. We're a federation of equals. The Council fleet moved forward, exactly as predicted. Their ships formed the same attack patterns they'd used for millennia. In response, the Federation fleet seemed to dissolve into chaos. Insectoid ships darted between larger vessels, their mining tools turned weapons cutting through Council shields. Crystal beam cruisers refracted energy weapons, turning the Council's own firepower against them. And the human ships, led by Mary, performed maneuvers that the Council's computers insisted were impossible. "They're breaking formation," Mary announced, "just like we planned. Each species, begin your specialized attacks." Dr. James Ward, monitoring from Earth's command center, watched in satisfaction as his predictions proved correct. The Council's greatest weakness was always their uniformity. They can't adapt to fighting 20 different combat styles at once. The battle raged for hours, but its outcome was never in doubt. The Council fleet, fighting the only way they knew how, couldn't match the creative fury of freed species fighting for their future. One by one, their mighty ships fell or surrendered. On the Council homeworld, alarms blared as the unthinkable happened. Their orbital defenses failed. The Federation fleet, led by Earth ships, entered the atmosphere, but they didn't come with destruction. Instead, transport ships landed in the capital, carrying representatives from every freed world. The High Speaker and remaining Council leaders were found in their chambers, still demanding obedience from a galaxy that had outgrown them. "Surrender," Mary ordered, her weapon trained on the Speaker. "Your empire is over." "Kill us then," the Speaker snarled. "Prove you're the savages we always said you were." Tom stepped forward, his diplomatic training serving him one last time. "No, we're not like you. Earth didn't fight for revenge. We fought for freedom. You'll face justice from all the species you enslaved, but it will be fair justice." General Smith's hologram appeared in the chamber. "The Council's reign ends today, but your people won't be enslaved as you enslaved others. Instead, you'll learn what you forgot 10,000 years ago, how to live as equals in a galaxy of equals." The Federation's victory brought more than just political change. The Council's hoarded technology was shared across the galaxy. But more importantly, each species was free to develop in their own way, to innovate and grow as they chose. 1 year later, the former Council chamber had been transformed into the Federation Senate. Representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered to shape the galaxy's future. Earth held a seat equal to all others, remembered not as conquerors, but as liberators. The Council thought their greatest achievement was ruling the galaxy, Tom reflected, watching species that had once been slaves now debate as equals. They never understood that true greatness comes from lifting others up, not holding them down. Mary, her battle armor now replaced by a Federation uniform, nodded. "They spent 10,000 years taking. We taught the galaxy how to share, how to grow, how to think differently. And that," General Smith added, "is humanity's real gift to the galaxy. Not our weapons or our tactics, but our spirit. The belief that everyone deserves to be free, to be different, to be themselves." The galaxy had entered a new age. The Council's rigid empire had given way to a vibrant federation, where diversity was strength and innovation was celebrated. And it had all started because one primitive species had dared to say no to slavery and yes to freedom. Earth had changed the galaxy forever, not through conquest, but through courage, creativity, and an unshakable belief in the right of all beings to be free.